everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Deep Dive Expedition Series, where we take a deep dive into the TRU Adventure Studies expeditions of years past. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the ski expedition that went to Iceland in 2019. Today, I am joined by Evan Monroe and Fred Amyot. Evan was a student on that expedition, and Fred was the supervising faculty member on that expedition. So, Evan, why don't we start with you? Just, give our viewers and listeners a little introduction, like who you are, where you're calling from, when did you graduate, and then answer this question. If you could be adventuring right now, what would you be doing?
Cool. Yeah, I'm Evan. I'm calling from Kamloops, and that's where I'm living, and graduated in 2020. And if I could be adventuring right now, actually, I would be getting ready for Mountain 3 with Fred. It's next week, so yeah, stoked for that, but bummed it's not going to work out this year.
No.
Yeah, that little global pandemic, I guess, got in the way of that one, right?
Yeah.
And then Fred, over to you. Where are you from? Where are you calling from? When did you graduate? And what would you be doing right now?
Yeah, Fred Amyot, and I'm originally from Quebec City, and I moved in British Columbia. Oh my Lord, in '95 almost. In '98 was permanent. In 2000, I started to go with the ADVG, the Adventure Guide Diploma Program. I did the bachelor degree there and finished in 2005. So from 2000 to 2005, I was in Kamloops. And then I did the Mountain Guide certificate. I finished that, and I work for the program since 2008 in a nutshell. And that's what it is. I'm coordinating right now the mountain courses. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what it is. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Fred. Well, so you guys both went to Iceland last year for the ski expedition. So I want to talk about that today. And Evan, I'll start with you. Why don't you give us a little bit of an overview on that expedition? Like, where did you go? How long were you there for? And what were some of the goals of that trip?
Cool. So we flew into Reykjavik, and the plan was to sort of circumnavigate Iceland by the big ring road, like Route 1. And sort of stopping at different skiable locations along the way, and spending a bit of time at each. It was about like 14 days, a little bit longer if like we're accounting for stopping or like the layover times in Reykjavik. And then our goals were just to kind of check out some new snowpacks, and our biggest objective was Havana del Snøkur, which is the tallest mountain in Iceland. And along the way, just kind of like sussing out the different sort of objectives to be taken in the north and in the west as well. But
yeah, it seems like one of the cruxes of going to Iceland is just pronouncing some of the names there.
Yeah, it's pretty cryptic.
Yeah, and Fred, maybe you can give us a little bit of a background on the ski expedition. I guess why did you want to go to Iceland, or how did you guys end up in Iceland, and then where has the ski expedition gone before, and what else have you guys done?
Yeah, so since about, let's say 25 years that the program exists, a little bit more, we rarely went abroad for a ski expedition. We mostly stayed in Canada, and we were tackling mostly the Rockies, the Canadian Rockies, right? Because the expedition is in May, the first part of May, right? And that's where the snow is good usually, right? But this time last year, we decided to do different, and we wanted to go on an international adventure, and we wanted to see first different culture, but like Evan said, a different snowpack, and to experience an overall international experience. So that's why we decided to go to Iceland. And because Iceland it's very north, we knew that the snowpack was going to remain quite good, and the length of the day being quite large, right? Like lots of daylight during the day, which gave us lots of time to the field and experiment, right? So that was kind of the idea behind it.
Yeah, I guess because you guys left in May, so you know it's almost summertime there. So yeah, how long were the days there? You guys must have been getting what, 20-hour
It was
days?
endless. As we were there, the helicopter company had no rules for grounding, meaning that the helicopter would fly 24 hours in a
Yeah,
row. Right?
it,
So,
it never got dark really. It was
no,
always like 4 o'clock in the evening.
Oh,
outstanding, right? So
Mhm.
that was quite cool to experiment that, right? For sure.
yeah, yeah. I guess that would allow you guys to, you know, really smash those objectives. You just got so much time, and
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the international travel as well, for us, the learning was not only within the hard skill of the skiing, assessing the snowpack, but also managing such an expedition like this with the logistic and managing our energy, you know, when are we going to decide to take a day off? How hard are we going to go? When are we going to travel? When are we going to move from one venue to the next? How are we going to choose the venue according to weather, mountain condition, and energy that we have in the bank, you know? So all that was really quite cool, you know, to play with. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting part of these expeditions is that all those decisions and logistics are all student, I guess student led, right? So you know the idea with these expeditions, they're student led, student run, and student planned. So that's something actually, Evan, I want to ask you about was how was the planning process for you guys? Had you ever planned something like this before? You know, what was your role, and then I guess you know, did your plan work?
Yeah, it was the biggest trip that a lot of us had planned, and like we were doing it as a big group. So it was kind of an interesting process trying to sort of like organize everyone going the same direction and sort of getting on the same wavelength, like what we were trying to do with it. And our plan went through a couple iterations. So to say like our original plan worked would be not completely true, because we got to Iceland and we kind of like sat down with Fred and Thomas from the Iceland program and Derek and sort of like reconstructed it on the first day. And so that one I think did end up working quite well. And we just had to sort of like break it down and take some time. We were looking at it like very ambitiously, trying to ski just as much as possible, and all the instructors just had to be honest with us and be honest, or have us be honest with ourselves and realize that we needed a rest day in there as well. So
yeah. No, that's right. Oftentimes in expedition like this, we want to maximize our time because we're not there long. We've never been there. We're super excited, and we feel that every day is the last day we're going to get there, right? So we really want to ski, or climb. But the reality is that at some point, you know, we can't take anymore, you know, like we're so tired that the mind doesn't work anymore, the body doesn't cope with the exercise, and now we're not accomplishing anything, right? So it was kind of a little bit of the message we were trying to send, to say, well, let's try to plan an expedition so that every time we got 4 days, we can really go hard during 4 days and really accomplish the objective we had in mind, instead of being day 5 and 6 and struggling and you see that we don't go anywhere. And then we're more prone to injury as well. Eh? So yeah, but it's not easy, especially when the weather is good. You know, imagine that you got 4 nice days of skiing and now there is the day off coming, but the weather is still really good, you know? So it's tough to put a hand to this and say, okay, let's just chill out today, you know, that's not easy. Or maybe let's just switch gear like we did, Evan. That was quite nice, and let's go to see some museum and some cool cultural feature of that country that it's part of traveling as well, right? And that was quite nice to see, eh?
Yeah. The research phase of Iceland was pretty fun. It was cool to like really just be checking into some place that you'd never been before and trying to like figure out what this next 2 weeks was going to look like. And that was, it was cool to break down that and do some research. And I appreciated that because it's something I hadn't done before.
Yeah, and sometimes culturally could be things that are as well related to avalanche assessment. For example, in Iceland, the villages, you remember, they're so close to the mountainside that they needed to build major construction so that the avalanche doesn't sweep the town, right? So that's engineering that we don't see much in Canada, and culturally that was quite unbelievable to see how they managed that, right? So
Totally,
just that on its own, it was cool, right?
Yeah, it's that added layer of, I guess, the international trip is that all the cultural stuff, right? So it sounds like it would be a happy distraction for you guys, if you're on day 5 or 6 and the weather's nice, at least you can maybe, make a case to go into the town and, eat some shark meat and, explore Iceland a little bit. So, yeah, the next thing I want to ask you guys is, let's talk about what actually happened. So, maybe Fred, from your point of view, how did the expedition go, and do you think the students pulled it off?
Yeah, the most definitely, absolutely. I think the expedition in my mind was a success. And success is a broad term. Success doesn't mean that let's say we're planning on skiing 12 days out of, let's say, the 15 days we were out of the country. Let's put it that way. That did not happen because the weather we had that year was not the best. What I mean by that is that, first of all, the snowpack was quite thin. It was one of the worst years in terms of snowpack in many, many years. And moreover, it was quite warm, right? So those two factors combined made us ski less than what we had anticipated at the start, right? But this challenge made us choose different locations and made us think quite a bit of how are we going to run that expedition and where are we going to go and when are we going to go, right? So we realigned our expedition and we reorganized that and we made it quite nice, and we were really flexible, which is the name of the game. In an expedition, you're flexible and you adapt. And that's what we did, right? So we started to go to the West Fjord at the beginning, which is west and north of the island, in a super remote place where we needed to take a boat to get to the destination. And we landed with the boat, established our campsite in a place where rarely people goes, right? So that was absolutely unbelievable, right? Okay. But yes, sure, there were less snow, and we were hiking up to reach the snow line to put our skis on, and now we were skiing. So there was quite an unbelievable expedition like this that we had not really anticipated walking that much to get to the snow line. But at the same time, we made it happen. So that was a success. You know what I mean? We reorganized the plan so that we were skiing quite a nice country, remote country, and that worked out quite nicely, right? So in my mind, even though the weather was challenging, the mountain condition was challenging, the expedition was an absolute great success in my mind.
Yeah, fantastic. And Evan, what about you? How would you describe your expedition experience?
Yeah, I think it was a great expedition and great experience from the beginning, and it really taught us that these large scale trips are never going to be as you expect it. And so it would have been less of a learning experience if it went off totally as planned and we had a big snowpack and we were just kind of going through the motions. But teaching us to be adaptable and forcing us to sort of reassess and figure out new ways to spend our time was really good. And I think that made it very valuable because the whole part of it was every part of it was very unique, and I think that was exactly what we were looking for.
Yeah, because we were somewhat of a big group, we were 10 all together, right? We needed really thorough meeting in order for us to come up with a great plan, a detailed plan that everybody agree with. So those meetings was quite, I think, meaningful, and I think that everybody learned quite a bit in the meeting to learn to be flexible with our state of mind, flexible with our idea. In order, we needed to be receptive from other opinion and other idea as well. So that's difficult sometimes, right? when you tend together, we don't have the same opinion all the time. So trying to put a little bit of water in your wine, it's not that easy, right? When you're passionate about a certain sport, right? So I think that was a big part of the learning process as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's being okay with plan A, but also being okay with plan C, D, E, F, or G.
Exactly.
So see how far down the ladder you get there.
Yeah.
So since you guys have been there now, you've been to Iceland, you went on the ski expedition, you planned this trip. It took you a couple of weeks to plan it, and then you were there for, just over 2 weeks. Evan, maybe we'll start with you, but what advice do you have for anybody who would, be taking on a similar trip, whether they're a student in the program or just somebody, going to Iceland on their own? Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, I think Iceland's weather is like notoriously varied and hard to predict. So it's like in Iceland specifically, you got to be able to have some adjustability, and we like worked that in our second iteration of the plan. But if we'd done that even more, maybe we could have spent some time in like certain places where the weather was good for longer and got a little bit more skiing in those places. But yeah, like not really getting too connected to like one certain objective. If there's sort of a question of like whether the weather's going to be good, because I think like it's like hard to say when you're planning a few months in advance, and like there's things you just can't foresee. So
yeah. I think we got better over time with it. Like as the expedition went on, I think our flexibility got better. Everybody, I think, because if you remember at the start, we had that idea maybe of climbing this volcano. That's if you read Jules Verne, like the story that goes underneath the earth, like it is that volcano right over there. And we wanted to climb that volcano. The weather would have been perfect, the timing would have been great, But the team decided differently according to the plan they had in mind. You know what I mean? They were anxious, I guess, to go to the West Coast right away. To the West Island, right? But maybe there we could have climbed that peak and take the opportunity of good weather in the proximity of that peak, right? Yeah. But my point there is that as the expedition went on, we learned, because when we went to the big peak down south, we summit the biggest mountain in Iceland because we actually look at the weather, we were flexible, and we looked at the window and we say, hey, we got a good window, we got to go down south right now, And then we went down south and we climbed that thing in a day, right? So no, that was fantastic, the learning progression of everybody in order to trying to make a plan and be adaptable and choose the right objective at the right moment. That was absolutely great, It was a nice finish.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, it sounds like, I guess in Iceland, it seems the theme here is that you have to be flexible. Evan, to something you were saying, that the weather there, I know that I've had the fortune of going there twice. And it seems every time I go there, the winds, no matter what direction you're standing, the wind's always blowing in your face, and it's always colder than you think. And I actually got a few sunny days on one trip, which was pretty rare. But I guess you have to take into account for the weather and be flexible as a result. So, but it sounded like you guys were able to figure that out and make it a successful trip. So
we actually got really lucky with having good weather pretty consistently throughout the trip.
I guess it is a rock in the middle of the ocean, right? So way up north there. So okay, just as we wrap this up here, what's next for you guys? Where's the next adventure? Maybe we'll start with you, Evan.
Oof. I think the next adventure will be sort of figuring out this COVID thing and trying to figure out how to adventure within that. I'd like to go down to Squamish as soon as possible and start climbing again. And, it would be nice to get back into the mountains as it's kind of like, traversing season, mountaineering season now. But we'll see sort of how that all plays out.
Yeah, for sure. I guess maybe it's not an Iceland trip in the future. It's all, it's exploring the local crags these days, right? Mm-hmm. So And what about you, Fred? Where's your next adventure?
Well, for now the adventure is to climb around Revelstoke here and to try to crank the level a little bit and be better at technically, you know, climbing wise. So that's my focus for right now. You know, like if we got a bit of time, I might as well dedicate that time to be a better climber. That's my goal for right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Training in a different kind of way, right? Because usually it's time to go out and play, but maybe we can't. So yeah, go train. So. But yeah, guys, that's really all the time we have for today. So I just want to thank you guys both for taking some time to reminisce about that 2019 ski expedition to that little rock up in the Atlantic Ocean, Iceland. So for those listening and watching and joining us today, thanks for joining us today. So yeah, until next time, play safe, party smart, and have fun. Thanks, you guys.
Right on.
Thanks, Simon.